One of the best running backs in the league is about to be traded. Jonathan Taylor led the NFL in rushing yards, attempts, and touchdowns in 2021 and only played in 11 games in 2022 due to an ankle injury. But he is still one of the best running backs in the league, and now he's entering the final year of that rookie contract. He wants to be paid like the best running back in the league. Chris Ballard, the Colts GM, said he doesn't want to get into contract talks until he's off the PUP list. And honestly, he probably doesn't even want to give him a big contract anyway because it's just not a good team building strategy. Now, Jim Irsay, the Colts owner, was asked about Jonathan Taylor, and he said, "If I die tonight and Jonathan Taylor is out of the league, no one is going to miss us." Which, I mean, that is true because the NFL is going to keep moving along with or without an elite running back and an owner. But this obviously stirred up the situation because prior to this quote, the Colts were not allowing him permission to seek a trade. And then just 3 weeks later, now they're getting offers for him and they are heavily considering them. Now, the Colts just drafted Anthony Richardson, who's looking pretty good in the preseason. And you want to have as much money available as possible to improve the weapons around him, improve the offensive line, and have a solid enough defense to compete. The reports are that the Colts want a first-round pick or a comparable package of draft picks, and that's a lot to give up because not only do you have to give up a lot of draft capital to acquire Jonathan Taylor, but then on top of that, you have to be the team that pays him a huge contract after this season. I still think the Colts could get a very good package back for Jonathan Taylor, but what teams would be willing to bargain with them? Well, for one, the Miami Dolphins. The Dolphins have Raheem Mostert as their main running back in the backfield right now, and their offense could use a big playmaker at the running back position. Apparently, the Dolphins and Colts already have a good framework of what a potential trade would look like, so obviously they agree with that. The Dolphins have a great front seven and a pretty good defensive back room with Xavier Howard, Javon Holland, and they just added Jalen Ramsey once he comes back from injury. Add that to a great offensive mind at head coach with Mike McDaniel, the most explosive wide receiver in the NFL in Tyreek Hill, and then the next best thing to Tyreek Hill in Jalen Waddle. A solid offensive line once Teron Armstead gets back healthy, and quarterback Tua Tagovailoa, who works well on the move, in RPOs, and in play action crossers over the middle. Jonathan Taylor would elevate the Dolphins offense, and they would likely be the most explosive offense in the NFL. I think a fair trade would be the Dolphins' second and third round picks with Raheem Mostert, and then either Cedrick Wilson or Nik Needham, because the Colts need a running back after Jonathan Taylor is gone. And they also need wide receiver and cornerback depth. So to me, this is a fair trade on both sides and would improve both of these teams. Now let's talk about the Chargers. Okay, the Chargers already have a great offense with Keenan Allen, one of the best route runners in the NFL. Mike Williams, the best jump ball wide receiver in the NFL. Justin Herbert, one of the most gifted and productive quarterbacks in the last 3 years, and a very solid offensive line that features one of the best left tackles in Rashawn Slater, the best center in Corey Linsley, and then 3 other offensive linemen that are all at least above average. And I'm talking about Trey Pipkins specifically in comparison to the rest of the NFL. Add that to the fact that they have stars all over this defense too, in Derwin James, Joey Bosa, Khalil Mack, J.C. Jackson, Kenneth Murray. Okay, that last one was a joke. But this defense is on paper a top 5 defense in the NFL, man. This team is so deep on offense and defense. And I didn't even bring up Austin Ekeler, who he himself has been one of the best running backs in the league and one of the most productive considering both of his running ability and his receiving ability. He's constantly making the first man miss and runs hard every time he touches the ball. The Chargers have the same problem that the Colts do with Jonathan Taylor. It's an elite running back who wants to be paid like it, but you simply cannot afford it and don't want to pay them because it'll cause you more problems than it is going to solve. I don't think the Chargers are even considering this trade, but if I had to make a fair offer in fantasy land, I had to say this trade is going to happen, I would say Austin Ekeler and like a 4th round pick maybe for Jonathan Taylor straight up. It would improve our backfield in terms of running between the tackles and in the red zone. but it would also take away a lot of the receiving threat in this offense, man. Do not underestimate the impact that Austin Ekeler has in the passing game. Now, the next team, Super Bowl team, the Philadelphia Eagles. They might trade for Jonathan Taylor. They're already one of the very best in the NFL. They just went to the freaking Super Bowl. But with Jonathan Taylor, they would be even better, man. I've seen a lot of Eagles fans wanting Howie Roseman, the general manager, to trade for Jonathan Taylor. But to be honest, I don't think he would make a move like this. He isn't the kind of guy to invest a ton of money into the running back position. He'd rather just stay young and keep having different running backs come in and out with a backfield by committee approach. I mean, that's why Miles Sanders is gone and DeAndre Swift is now there. The Eagles have a great offense with A.J. Brown and Jalen Hurts and a really good front seven that is very young, and they are all dogs, man. I mean, literally, they're all Georgia Bulldogs. You got Jordan Davis, Jalen Carter, Nolan Smith, Nakobe Dean, all young Georgia players balling in Philly. If the Eagles were to make this trade, it would be a bad trade on both sides, in my opinion, because they don't really have much that they can offer to the Colts realistically. I'd say if the Eagles really want to go for it, they could give up both second-round picks this year, and that would probably be enough to get Jonathan Taylor. But again, I would ask you, as an Eagles fan, is that really worth it to get Jonathan Taylor? Because remember, you also have to pay Jonathan Taylor after this year, so that money could be much more well spent elsewhere on this team, and I just think Howie Roseman agrees with that. He doesn't want to pay a running back. Now, the next team, the Bears. Now, the Bears, they are the worst of all the teams that could potentially trade for Jonathan Taylor, outside the Broncos, who I'm not even going to talk about. But that doesn't make it any less likely. I mean, they need a presence in the backfield to take pressure off of Justin Fields. Can you imagine an elite running back like Jonathan Taylor with Justin Fields and the beautiful RPOs that they would be running on the defenses? Justin Fields is in need of help on offense, not only in terms of weapons to throw to, but also a line to block for him and a running game to take the pressure off of him. The defense isn't great, but they have some playmakers with Jaquan Brisker and Eddie Jackson. Man, don't sleep on Eddie Jackson. He was one of the best safeties in the league last year. I think Ryan Poles would be aggressive enough to make this move and have Justin Fields and Jonathan Taylor in the same backfield for the next few years and be the face of the Chicago Bears. Just this past season, he traded a first-round pick for Chase Claypool from the Steelers to help out Justin Fields. Getting Jonathan Taylor would improve this team immensely, man. And they just got Justin Fields protection with Darnell Wright at pick 10 in the draft. They signed DJ Moore in free agency to a big contract. They traded for Chase Claypool, like I just said. The last piece to the puzzle of improving this offense around Justin Fields is getting a workhorse running back, and Jonathan Taylor is the exact kind of running back that would help the Chicago Bears. I think the Bears would give the best offer because they have 2 first-round picks this year, and they can easily trade either Khalil Herbert or Deontay Foreman, whichever one the Colts want. I mean, take your pick, buddy. I think a fair trade would be like a first-round pick this year and then one of those 2 running backs. I know this is the best offer, but the Bears can afford it, and they might be the team that is in the most need of Jonathan Taylor out of all of them. The only question is, do the Colts want just that first-round pick and then a running back, or do they want some players along with the pick? The only thing that we know right now is that they want a first-round pick. So those are the possible locations for Jonathan Taylor. Let me know where you guys think he's going to end up. Obviously, I don't really think he's going to be on the Chargers, but if you want to see some Chargers action, we got Keenan Allen right here making some crazy catches at training camp like he's been doing all season long. Check this out.